Now hopefully you're beginning to see the value of adding calculations to our cube. Thus far we have our sales amount and previous sales amount and sales growth, and these are simply values that are performing simple addition or subtraction. Now let's create a ratio calculation. What we'd like to do next is to calculate the gross margin percentage for our sales. Gross margin depends upon knowing sales amounts as well as costs. So in addition to our sales amount value, it might be easier to go ahead and create a total cost calculation and then create a calculation for our gross margin percentage. So let's go back to the calculations pane, quickly add in another calculated member for cost, and then take our internet cost and add in reseller cost. And now we're ready for a gross profit margin. We'll just shorten that up to profit margin percent. And this time we're going to use a template. Here on the Templates tab of the Calculation Tools pane, we can see that we have several folders: Analytics, Financial, and Time Series, or a folder where we can see all of our templates. So depending on what we need to do, we'll find the template that serves our purpose. But here's where we need to make one change from what we've done earlier. So far, we've been working in the form view, where we have text boxes available for us to place our expressions and set our properties. But there's another view called Script View, which we access from the button here on the toolbar that takes us over to Script View. And here's where we can see the MDX script that's associated with our cube. We can see script commands here to create each calculation as a member. So we have create member current cube for sales amount. We have the keyword as, and then the expression itself, followed by a comma, and then the individual properties that are comma delimited. And then at the end of that create command, we have a semicolon to separate it from subsequent commands. So here we've started this measure, profit margin percent, and we have an empty expression. And so it's at that point we use our template. So here I've got gross profit margin, and when I hover over this, notice that it says it calculates this as a percentage value as opposed to gross profit. It was just the difference between revenue and cost of goods. Gross profit margin is expressed as a percentage of sales. So we're going to drag and drop gross profit margin right after the keyword as, and we can see that a comment has been added in here using the / and asterisk syntax, and we can go to the end and see that we have the closing asterisk / just to denote the end of that comment. And when we use that syntax, comments can take multiple lines like so. So we can see here that it went ahead and tried to name this measure for us, and we already have that set up, so we can just delete that part of the command. And then we have tokens here to represent net sales as well as cost of goods sold. So we just need to plug in the measures that come from our cube, whether they come directly from the fact table as measures that we find in our measure group folders, or whether they come from the calculated measures. Now notice that even though we've deployed our cube, the sales amount is the only calculation that shows here, but that's because I need to reconnect to the cube. Just like in the browser we need to reconnect, we do the same here in the metadata pane, and we can see all of our measures here. So for sales, I can replace this net sales with sales amount. And then I can also do the same below. So we have sales amount in the numerator here divided by sales amount in the denominator. Now one thing with this template that's incorrect is the fact that our numerator actually needs to enclose those measurements in parentheses, just like we would do in normal mathematical operations to control the order of operations. Then for cost of goods sold, that was our new measure called measures.cost. And then it's applied a standard formatting string here, and let's change that to %. And we'll remove the semicolon here so that we can get the visible property in place, and then close that entire command with a semicolon. Now we can toggle back to form view at this point, and we can see our expression shown here. Measure sales amount minus cost divided by sales amount. Let's deploy this. And go to the browser, reconnect, and now we can add profit margin % so that we can see how each year performs from a profit perspective. And of course, as we drill, the correct calculation continues to be applied.